Hey guys, this is Nick with PhoneArena, and today we're reviewing the Sony Xperia J. This is a device positioned in the lower mid-range category, so don't really expect it to impress you with much other than its affordable price tag. It comes with a 4-inch display, there is a 1 GHz single-core processor inside it, and on the back we have a 5 megapixel camera with autofocus and LED flash. Here on top we see a front-facing camera, and out of the box you get Android 4.0 ice cream sandwich pre-installed. As many other mid-range devices, the Sony Xperia J is made entirely out of plastic. Quite frankly, the front side of the device looks boring, but the back side is a lot funkier with its curved surface. We're quite happy to see that the back cover with its matte finish is very resistant to fingerprints and provides sufficient grip, allowing us to hold and operate the device comfortably with one hand. There is a very neat notification light on the bottom side of the Xperia J. It glows in a different color depending on what kind of notification you have, be it a missed call, a new Facebook message, or simply when your battery needs to be recharged. Underneath the display we see 3 capacitive Android buttons, one that takes you back a screen, one that takes you back to your home screen, and one that displays the menu for the application that is currently running. On the left side of the smartphone we have its micro USB port, which is used for charging the battery and for connecting the smartphone to a PC. And on top we have the 3.5mm headphone jack. And here on the right side we have the 2-button volume rocker and the lock key. Quite honestly, we aren't really happy with them because they're too tiny to operate comfortably. We have to say that the 4-inch display on the Sony Xperia J is actually very good. It has a resolution of 480 by 854 pixels, which is more than enough for a device of this class. It has a very neutral color representation, meaning that colors are neither too bright nor too dull. Moreover, it exhibits some very good viewing angles and its outdoor visibility is very acceptable. The only disappointment that we have with it is that the smartphone doesn't have an ambient light sensor, meaning that each time you go outside you'll have to manually boost the brightness either by using this widget or by going to the settings menu. Now let's take a closer look at the interface. What we have running on the Sony Xperia J is Android 4.0 ice cream sandwich, which isn't exactly the latest version of Android anymore. Thankfully, Sony has promised to deliver an update to Jelly Bean, but that will happen only at some point in early 2013. The interface has been heavily customized and the new features will come in handy if you happen to be a heavy social networking user. For example, there's a widget here that will notify you each time a friend of yours has a new post, and the widget here on the bottom will aggregate your Twitter and Facebook feeds so you can keep track of what's going on online. Additional features such as LinkedIn and Foursquare and other social network support can be added with a visit to the Play Store. There's also a widget that will recommend applications that you might be interested in. And another handy widget is the SMS counter, which, just like the name suggests, will keep track of the SMS messages that you send. Here we have the on-screen virtual keyboard, which works fine for the most part, but we did notice that sometimes it tends to lag, so your taps are registered with a slight delay, which can be quite annoying. Thankfully, the keyboard is smart enough to correct any mistakes that you make as you type. There's nothing impressive about the hardware inside the Sony Xperia J. It comes with a 1 GHz Snapdragon S4 processor and 512 MB of RAM. And with a hardware specs sheet like this, the smartphone feels quite underpowered. Lags are common, especially if you have an application running in the background, and we notice quite a few frames being dropped while navigating through the menu. Many of the popular video games are playable, but some of the titles that come with complex 3D graphics and special effects are sometimes too choppy to enjoy. There's a total of 4 GB of onboard storage on the Sony Xperia J, and out of that, less than 3 GB are available to the user. That is why it is recommended to get a micro SD card with a smartphone, because that space is gonna run out pretty quickly. The web browsing experience on the Sony Xperia J is also far from perfect. When a relatively heavy web page is being viewed, zooming in and out can get quite choppy, and it takes a while before the section that you're viewing gets rendered. You can always disable the plugins from the settings menu, but that doesn't seem to help with the performance by much. We don't really know why, but the photos taken with the Sony Xperia J and its 5 megapixel camera look very disappointing, or at least they do on the retail unit that we are reviewing today. For some reason, they look completely out of focus unless you're shooting from up close. Something tells us that this could be a software issue, but that is just a guess of ours. We have to admit that we are very satisfied with the stock music player that comes with the Sony Xperia J. It has all the necessities such as the home screen widget, the lock screen controls, and in case your music collection happens to be a bit misorganized, all the missing information can be filled automatically by the application itself. You also get a 5-band equalizer and the X Loud function that will boost the volume of the built-in speaker. With the exception of QuickTime videos, the stock movie player can handle all the popular video formats, but we did notice a few issues with its performance. For example, we noticed a few dropped frames here and there while playing some of our video samples, and on one occasion the audio was lagging behind the video. 720p videos are not supported. The earpiece on the Sony Xperia J sounds excellent even when the volume is turned up all the way, but the microphone leaves quite a lot to be desired. It sounds okay on the other side of the line, but it picks quite a lot of background noise. For a mid-range smartphone, the Sony Xperia J actually has a pretty big battery. The cell has a capacity of 1750 mAh, which will get you 7.5 hours of talk time. In conclusion, we know that the Sony Xperia J might seem like a smartphone worth getting, especially when it's priced so low and when it comes with a nice 4-inch display, but we wouldn't really recommend it. That's because chances are you will be disappointed by its subpar performance. That is why we would recommend actually considering an alternative. For example, if you're looking for an affordable smartphone made by Sony, you should check out the Sony Xperia Solo, which might come with a smaller display but has much better performance thanks to its dual-core processor. Another smartphone worth considering is the Sony Xperia P, which costs just a bit more but takes much better looking photos. And last but not least, we have the HTC Desire X, which also has better performance than the Sony Xperia J with its 1 GHz dual-core chip. Thank you for watching our review of the Sony Xperia J. This is Nick, and if you'd like to check out any of our other smartphone reviews, visit our website phonearena.com.